Viewer discretion is advised. More details can be found in the description. In 2015, after a run of 3 seasons, the adult animated comedy Brickleberry was cancelled by Comedy Central for reasons about which we can only speculate. And the show's creators, Roger Black and Waco O'Gwyn, got very minimal TV work in the following years. Don't worry, I'm sure nobody will hire them to make 2 more shows that are exactly the same as Brickleberry.
But I'm guessing most people wouldn't want to get behind that or bankroll it because people are so PC these days. Did you have problems at all finding anyone to support you in this or to help you produce it? Was that tough in this environment?
I mean, we really just pitched it to Netflix. Brickleberry went on Netflix after it got canceled on Comedy Central when it completely blew up. And they were thinking about picking up Brickleberry, but it's just so hard with the rights because, you know, once you sell a show, the network owns it forever. You never get your rights back. So Comedy Central and Fox owned it, and it was just going to be too much. So they're just like, bring us a new show. And so we came up with a show very similar.
If you're a long-time subscriber, you've probably heard of Paradise PD. I made a video on the show in 2020 back when I was naive enough to think that Paradise PD was just its own thing and had no idea what Brickleberry even was. I've linked the video in the description if you want to see it, although I didn't need to because it's definitely in the related videos. In this video though, it's time to talk about the fact that Paradise PD is in pretty much every way just an unlicensed remake of Brickleberry. You may be a person who thinks you knew that already, but let me assure you, you have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes. Starting with the main cast, the parallels are obvious. Paradise PD takes Brickleberry's park rangers and turns them into cops. Instead of Steve, the subservient dumbass loser played by David Herman,
Woody doesn't respect you.
Woody doesn't respect me? But you guys respect me, don't you?
I think you're a pussy.
We have Kevin, the subservient dumbass loser played by David Herman.
Nobody wants to work here.
Except for me.
Kevin!
They each have the same character traits, the same voice actor, the same role in the show, and when these characters are introduced, they are both immediately given the backstory that a long time ago, through incompetence, they had an accident with a handgun that majorly fucked up the life of another main character. Instead of Woody, the strict, stubborn, angry leader of the group whose personality is shaped by his violent, traumatic past and is played by Tom Kenny,
It'll be okay.
No, it won't! Do you know how much of a hassle it is to hire a new ranger, you stupid dying idiot?
we have Police Chief Randall Crawford, the strict, stubborn, angry leader of the group whose personality is shaped by his violent, traumatic past and is played by Tom Kenny.
Kevin, this is exactly why I didn't want you on my police force!
It's not all one-to-one character clones. There are a few differences, they're just not particularly meaningful. Most of the same attributes and gimmicks are still present within the cast, they're just shared between the group in a different way. In Brickleberry, Steve has a deformed penis, which is of course very funny.
I am a bald, overweight man with misshapen genitals.
But in a shockingly subversive twist, in Paradise PD, the role of weird genital haver is filled by Police Chief Crawford.
I'm a divorced guy with no balls who has to wear a testosterone patch to keep his mustache from falling out.
And Kevin, who has a deformed penis as well. Wow! 2 deformed penises? That's twice as funny as 1 deformed penis!
We're looking for a flat-out troll penis, Kevin. Way more fucked up than any of these ones we've seen so far. See the sketch? It's like 90% slit.
It's a sketch of his penis. And this mixing and matching of the same traits we've already seen is how we get the rest of the main cast. Take Denzel, who in Brickleberry has a few main comedic roles, like, being black.
My father, cop. His father, cop. His father, cop. His father, slave.
Loving getting high. Having weird sex involving old people.
Man, y'all are freaks. I bet you ain't smiled like that since you got the right to vote.
And he often played the straight man in contrast to the other wackier characters.
I'd be too embarrassed.
Too embarrassed? Didn't you shove $195 worth of dimes up your ass?
Paradise PD doesn't have one single character that accounts for all these traits, instead the traits are spread out between the cast. The old people sex jokes go to Hobson, an old horny guy.
69!
The jokes about how much he loves getting high go to Bullet, a talking animal character who loves getting high.
Bullet, it's 3 p.m.
Oh shit, I almost missed breakfast.
And everything else goes to a character called Fitz, who is the butt of the race jokes.
Well, hey, and good day to you, Stanley. You making fun of Fitz's ancestors again?
And who often plays the straight man to the bullshit of other characters.
We're never gonna stop Houndstooth, man, if you don't go faster.
You don't have to talk to my cardiologist, because he says if I walk faster than the light stroll, my body will explode.
That's it. I'm calling an Uber.
Somebody call an Uber?
God damn this. I'm walking.
Connie's closest equivalent in Paradise PD would be Dusty, but they're nowhere near as similar as Woody and Police Chief Crawford or Steve and Kevin. Both characters exist primarily to be mocked for their appearances and sex lives, but that's really all the similarities they share. While Connie was mocked for virtually every aspect of her appearance, Dusty is really only ever made fun of for his weight.
I'm on a diet since I had to start wiping my ass with a king-size sheet. I better just stick to 2. A dozen.
And while with Connie, jokes were often made about her making unwanted sexual advances towards Ethel, the jokes about Dusty come from him regularly being on the receiving end of unwanted sexual advances from another character called Gina.
Morning, sexy.
Now, Gina, you know this restraining order I have on you, it specifically covers not honking my bitch tits.
Dusty is also on the receiving end of loads of jokes about how he's obsessed with his cats.
It ain't like I spend that much on my cat.
And jokes about how he's stupid, naive, and childish.
Merry Christmas, Santa Claus! I know you ain't the real Santa, but you report to the real Santa.
Traits that are somewhat different to the ones that were mocked in Connie. So he's not exactly a Connie clone, he just exists for the same reasons she did. It's these characters that genuinely represent one of the biggest differences between Brickleberry and Paradise PD. This random shuffling of traits is one of the biggest departures from one show to the next. They're new characters, they just borrow a lot from the old ones and are used to make exactly the same kind of jokes.
I'll handle them, you take the baby.
Looks like I got the easy job.
Fighting a baby is actually generally considered to be easy, and therefore the baby being a difficult fight is the subversive and therefore humorous outcome of the scene. You probably wouldn't realize that by yourself though, so just before the fight we'll have Kevin say, "Looks like I got the easy job." No one will predict the punchline after that. So yeah, they're not one-to-one clones, they just fulfill exactly the same functions between them. When we go beyond the main ensemble of cops, we'll find way more characters who are directly lifted from Brickleberry. Because man, all the tertiary Brickleberry characters were just so unique and valuable that we couldn't possibly have a show without them. Like, hey, you know that trope irresponsible doctor archetype we have in the show?
Doc, is it possible to reattach a pair of testicles?
No. That's what a licensed doctor would say. I have an unhealthy obsession with experimental medicine. Bring me your gonads and I'll be happy to reattach them. Heck, for the right price, I'd even sew a dick to your forehead.
Oh, yes!
What a brilliant stroke of genius he was! We couldn't possibly come up with something better than that!
I want my own set of balls.
Oh, you mean a ball transplant? I'll put you at the top of the donor list. You'll receive the testicles of the next male that dies in paradise.
Doc, how'd it go?
Well, you passed out before you could tell me anything, but luckily I found the note you wrote me. See? Put all the balls in my sack. So I did.
Oh, my God.
How do I look?
Oops, my bad.
Oh my God. You put the face on upside down. You can't just spin it back around, obviously. It's gonna be super crazy complex. Plastic surgery needs to be involved. Detachment of the vessels, the nerves. It's intense and probably gonna take a lot of surgeries to actually fix something like this.
What? No, actually, I kind of respect you for making this video. Go for it, man. Remember that random Russian cartel boss who existed to facilitate the plot of a single episode and then never show up again?
You're my #1 guy. Tell me, anyone disrespect you?
Well, Paradise PD brings him back, but attaches a random gimmick to him where he always talks like the Count from Sesame Street for no reason? Okay.
It is probably Operation Dilly Dally, because we have been waiting here for 1, 2, 3 days!
And of course, when they introduce the gimmick, they have him say that he's not about to do it, because obviously that makes it funny.
You sound like that motherfucking vampire that count shit on Sesame Street.
That's ridiculous. Now let's get down to business. One gun.
There's loads of them. Like Brickleberry also had a random homeless guy character who would show up occasionally.
How many times do I have to tell you? No indoor fires.
Oh, how is old boy Larry gonna keep warm?
Ever hear of the thermostat?
I got a thermos and a bat, but the bat's dead.
I mean, you've probably guessed.
I risk my life for a dress sock, a flip-flop, and a head of rotten cabbage?
That's not a dress sock. That's a jizz sock.
And you know what? There are elements of this that I respect. Brickleberry didn't end because Roger Black and Waco O'Gwen felt they'd finished with it and they didn't want to make any more. They still want to make more to this day.
But no, we'd love to do more Brickleberry if we got a chance. Once we're done with Netflix, you know, hopefully we have a long relationship with them. But we still like to do Brickleberry again one day. They bring back a lot of stuff. I mean, a cartoon can always come back.
Their show was cancelled against their wishes, and I kind of respect the balls on them to just go and make more anyway, with the next studio who would let them. Not really surprised it was Netflix, to be honest. What's the matter, Comedy Central? You own the rights to the show we made and all our characters? Well, we've changed the color of our doctor's hair and shirt, and now you can't sue us. What are you gonna do, bitch? Cry? Even with the sheer amount of lazy writing and, let's be honest, lazy animation that was on display in Brickleberry, I don't think it would be fair to say that all of this is definitely laziness, and that Black and O'Gwen are just recycling their old characters because they can't be bothered to come up with new ones. Take the characters Bobby Possumcards and his friend Bo Dean. They similarly show up renamed and palette swapped in Paradise PD, but there's something else to them too. Well, for one thing, as a duo, they're voiced by Roger Black and Waco O'Gwen, making them kind of obvious mascots for the show. And Bobby Possumcards isn't actually from Brickleberry. Oh no, he's from The Damn Show.
I don't know what that boy likes to play with. Power Rangers, black people.
Black and O'Gwen's original sketch show that also gave us Yucko the Clown.
Yucko the Clown, what's your name? Gina. You got some big Gina.
So considering the fact that this character or a version of him has appeared in every project that these two have worked on, and that he never takes center stage, he feels more like a signature than anything else.
You are gonna tell me who you work for.
He told us never to say his name.
Who told you that?
Terry Two Toes.
A cheeky self-reference that fans of your previous work are going to enjoy.
What's the new password?
Password used to be my name, but I kept forgetting it.
Wait a second, what show is that clip from? Could it possibly be the other show in the title? In a similar way, Yucko the Clown has a cameo in Brickleberry too, in a joke that was terrible, but hey, I'm sure his fan enjoyed seeing him, and after that he keeps popping up, just occasionally. Then he continues to show up in Paradise PD. So yeah, there are some things I respect about some of the ways they've reused things. On the other hand though, of all the writers who could possibly have gotten their second animated show greenlit, reflected back on that first show they made together and decided what they'd learned from that experience was that they were just doing great and didn't need to change anything, why these two? And on top of that, so far I've really only shown you the stuff that seems the least like they're just trying to lazily rehash their own work. Let's start with something easy, like the fact that from the first episode, Paradise PD was straight up reusing jokes from Brickleberry.
It's looting time up in this bitch! Shit, this is my car!
Yep. Are you ready to see that joke, but again?
Chief, you know that's your car, right?
Yeah, that one was worth reusing. It was just such a stroke of comedy genius the first time.
If I can't live in the governor's mansion, neither can they. Trust me, no one's gonna die today.
Someone's definitely going to die today.
He'll be perfectly fine in prison.
Dusty will not be perfectly fine in prison.
Holy shit, you're lazy. It'd be one thing if they were just reusing the Brickleberry classics, you know? The jokes that were treated like they were a big deal in the original show and had a lot of attention drawn to them. Anything that for any reason seemed particularly memorable. That way you could at least justify these things as fan-pleasing references. These are just random, forgettable one-off gags that never show up again? Like, were there any Brickleberry fans... Sorry, I do need to finish that sentence, but I kind of like it as it is. Were there any Brickleberry fans coming into Paradise PD thinking, man, the main thing I remember about Brickleberry is that one time in Series 3, Episode 7 where an adult is getting their diaper changed and pisses in the face of the character who's changing it?
It's getting worse!
Or maybe they're really into one joke from the episode where Denzel decides to get his attraction to old people medically cured.
This condition can be cured by a simple outpatient procedure.
Guys, you forgot to include the side of the show in this scene.
Really? Okay, let's do it. Hey, what are you doing back?
But after an episode of unfortunate shenanigans with women his own age, he decides to get the procedure undone.
Young pussy's too much trouble. Knock me back into liking old bitches. Okay, buddy, if that's what you want.
Two people then arrive at the Ranger's cabin, an old lady and someone who it would be entirely inappropriate for Denzel to be attracted to. Denzel looks over and says, "Hey, sexy," and then walks past the old lady and straight towards the person it would be inappropriate for him to be attracted to. Yeah, did you like that joke? Well, what if in Paradise PD we do an episode where Gina has a medical procedure to change the fact that she's only attracted to obese men because she wants to date Steve for no adequately explored reason, but then when she's had the procedure do exactly the same thing.
Gina will no longer only be attracted to obese men.
Hello, Mr. Skinny. Give me that ween, Mr. Lean.
Those premises do be starting to sound pretty similar too, huh? I wonder if any more are reused, like say the episode where the talking animal character starts keeping one of the human characters as a pet and spends the whole episode treating him like a dog.
Cool hobo. What is he, a wino? Junkie?
He's a schizo-wino mix.
Go, boy, go!
What is that?
He's a geriatric sex maniac mix.
And it's one thing to bring back an old character from your old show if you have new ideas for new things to do with them, even if those new ideas are what if he spoke like the Count? But it's an entirely different thing to bring back an old character from your old show if you're just going to use them to rehash all the jokes you've already told with them.
Nice try, Woody, but I don't take that form of payment anymore.
What?
All right, Woody, last time. But from now on, you write a check like everyone else.
No, you lunatic, I've got a hemorrhoid.
Oh, Randall, you horny devil, I'm working.
Hey, I'm only here for my rectal exam.
Brickleberry, for example, has an episode where Malloy has a potential love interest, but it turns out that she's incredibly crass and direct in a way that he finds off-putting, and that's the joke.
Wanna take this train to town?
I'm sorry?
Can I taste your juice?
I'm not even sure what we're talking about.
There's also a joke later on in the episode where Malloy tapes up her mouth because he wants her to shut up, but she interprets this as sexual and gets turned on by it.
You gonna tape me up before you split these guts? That gets my ovaries clapping and my bunghole flapping.
God, I long for death. Anyway, as you've probably guessed by now, in Paradise PD, there is a reskinned version of her who they used to tell all the same jokes. She's a cat, she's called Miss Whiskers, and she's interested in Bullet.
Call me, baby.
You're supposed to laugh at her because she's sexually forward and crass.
Ooh, I'm always up for some DP. One in the tongue hole, one in the bunghole. Get it?
And hey, remember that one joke in Brickleberry where she interpreted something that wasn't intended sexually as sexual? You remember that? Did you like that? Yeah, do you want to say it 3 more times?
The hell is this?
I'm sorry about this, okay? But it's,
a threesome?
You're about to experience a new level of pain.
Well, y'all in for a treat, cause the more it hurts, the more I squirt. God damn! This is the best threesome ever!
I'm starting to think that it's possible laziness was one of the main contributing factors behind all of this reused content. Although ultimately, who knows? Maybe you were supposed to notice that Fitz's character model is reused from the background of this one Brickleberry scene. Now, most of the reused content I've shown isn't a one-to-one clone of a previous scene, it's just extremely derivative of stuff that's come before. These reused jokes aren't all a definite sign of writers who have gone back and plundered their old scripts and deliberately withdrawn content from them to reuse. It just shows a clear lack of creativity and effort being put into the new project. Some of the most significant differences between the two shows are clearly the result of the move from broadcast television to streaming. For one thing, they don't have to censor penises anymore. I'm not showing you footage for this one. While the content is mostly the same, the way it's delivered to the audience has changed quite drastically. Brickleberry was a show that always re-established the status quo at the end of each episode. This allowed casual viewers to dip in and out of the show without worrying that they'd missed anything. Paradise PD, on the other hand, goes full force in the opposite direction, which kinda makes sense. If you're watching a show on Netflix, it really doesn't matter how casual of a viewer you are because all the episodes are lined up in order for you to watch whenever you want. The only way you're going to end up catching the episodes out of order is if you go into the menu and deliberately choose to watch them out of order, and frankly, in that situation, you only have yourself to blame. As well as having each episode lead into the next, this allows Paradise PD to have long and involved series arcs that really do change the status quo. The show is, for example, now packed with twist reveals that this character was actually this thing the whole time.
But aren't you the Kingpin's hench person? The Kingpin only thinks I work for him. I'm actually Fitzgerald's psychologist from Chicago.
Fitz, for example, goes from just being your average cop to secretly having been the Kingpin everyone's been looking for this whole time.
Oh, boss, thank goodness. Wait a second.
None of those cops suspect a thing. They're all too stupid.
To no, actually he was a normal cop this whole time, but his mind had been taken over by a second persona based on a criminal he once took down, and his real persona and this second persona have been battling for control of his body ever since, in a backstory that's genuinely explained to us through a 5-minute exposition dump montage narrated by the master. Now in fairness, there are jokes in the 5-minute backstory exposition montage, but this is Paradise PD, so this is what they're like.
I created a prison in his own mind called Pussyland. It was based on a children's song my nana sang to me. Pussy, pussy, Pussyland, where the trees are made of.
As a result of all this, Paradise PD feels more like one very long, overly complex, and deliberately very stupid story. Individual episodes start to feel less like individual episodes as they all merge into each other, and eventually the whole thing has congealed into one big sloppy glob that's clearly supposed to be binge-watched. I think it's really telling that this is probably the biggest difference between the two shows. Paradise PD is Brickleberry reimagined as one big tub of recycled goo. Knowing all I know now about Brickleberry and Paradise PD, some jokes from Paradise PD hit a little different. There's an episode in Series 2 where Dusty gets obsessed with a show he finds on Disney Plus called Wall-Eyed Wally.
Ooh, it's the day I've been waiting for. The launch of Disney's new streaming service, Disney Plus.
When did we agree that cartoons don't even have to try when writing expositional dialogue? He finds out the show was cancelled on a cliffhanger and approaches Disney to try and get them to make more episodes, where we get a scene featuring these jokes.
You want us to reboot a show that was a lazy, derivative piece of shit in the first place? You really know how to speak our language. We're gonna need a creative executive to cover the show. How'd you like the job?
I don't think I'm qualified.
This is Disney. If you can wipe your own ass, you're qualified.
I covered these jokes in my original video on Paradise PD. What the hell is this UI? But back then, of course, I was completely unaware of the fact that Paradise PD is just an unlicensed version of the thing they are describing. It is an unlicensed remake of a show that was lazy derivative garbage to begin with. They don't try to hide what they're doing either.
Why the long face? Comedy Central cancel your show again?
I told you. They're park rangers, we're cops. Totally different. Anyway, Denzel.
So who knows? Maybe these bits about Disney are actually meant to be self-aware. Maybe they are deliberately talking about themselves here. But if they are, then acknowledging the fact they're making a lazy derivative show doesn't actually fix any of those problems, now does it? On the other hand, if those were genuinely just supposed to be shots at Disney Plus, then, well, fair.
A lizard. Thank you.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I think I swallowed it.
You think what? But also, if that's the case, maybe it's time for a little bit of self-reflection, gang. Another thing that hits a little different once you've seen Brickleberry is this episode where the Paradise cops have to skip town after Fitz turns evil and takes over.
Where are we going, Dad?
The one place Fitz'll never find us. A remote national park called Brickleberry.
The Brickleberry Paradise PD crossover episode is in many ways exactly what you would expect it to be. We open with a gag about Kevin's mum eating her own puke.
Instead of fighting for our town, we're running like a bunch of pussies. Karen, will you talk some testicles into your husband?
Leave her alone. She's having a hard time swallowing her election laws.
Whoa, that's almost as funny as when the same thing happened in Brickleberry. Of course, when I say a gag about a character eating their own puke, what I mean is the character ate their own puke. Please laugh. We then get a series of gags which entail Dusty's farts.
Yeah, did we have to bring Dusty? I can't take any more of his ravioli farts.
They smell even better coming out than they did going in.
Which quickly leads to this.
You don't have any friends, Chef Boy Farty?
Just for that, bon appetit.
Oh my God!
Oh, I can taste it.
Do you get it? He farted. We then get a classic Hobson joke.
Oh, everybody, I'll shit my pants to cover the smell.
Roll down the window! out!
Do you get it? He shitted. I don't know, there is a world where don't worry, I'll shit my pants to cover the smell could have been funny, but unfortunately we live in the world where a significant proportion of the Hobson jokes you're expected to laugh at are lol, look, he shitted. You're very used to this by now. Unable to find the little thing to roll down the window, Chief Crawford then shoots out the glass to let out the smell. That's it, that's the opening scene. The tone has been set. We then cut to the Brickleberry Rangers, making their first on-screen appearance since the show was cancelled 5 years prior, and they immediately start just witlessly punching the punching bag traits.
Do you like me? Check the box. If yes, will you lick the box? A hard no to all of your boxes, Connie.
Oh, you still like me, don't you, Angela Hansberry?
You're a fat
After some we were cancelled fourth wall breaks, we then set up some of the episode's various plot points and get given some material that I think is actually kinda okay.
I knew it was a bad decision, but, well, I saw that Tom Selleck reverse mortgage commercial, and ooh, that mustachioed Marvel could talk me into anything. Not sexual, but well, maybe.
When the Brickleberry Paradise PD purge finally comes and every hard drive containing any footage of either show is completely destroyed, if this one clip were to survive, I wouldn't be angry.
Off topic. Who are those guys?
The meeting of the two ensemble casts goes exactly as you would expect. It's a character comedy gimmick fiesta, with every character doing their funny thing, but as a part of an interaction with a character from a show they don't normally get to interact with. Connie is a lesbian, but to Gina now.
Guess you're wondering why we're here.
Does anybody need Wi-Fi? Because I'm making a hotspot.
The two old people sex joke characters say old people sex stuff to each other.
What is he, like 90 years old?
I hope he brought his older sister.
I did, and I like my men like I like my coffee. Hot, black, and up my ass.
Then we get some tired and played out race jokes.
One of our cops turned out to be a criminal.
Let me guess. The only black guy.
Hey, we are not racist.
Wow, a white person pulled out their keys and locked their car because Denzel was around and they're racist? Whoa, that's almost as funny as when the same thing happened in Brickleberry. Before we discover that Woody is holding some kind of a grudge against Crawford and doesn't want anything to do with him.
We needed a place to hide, Woody, and, well, I knew my cousin would take us in. Fuck you, Randall. You are dead to me.
And as a result, a full-scale fight breaks out between the cops and the Rangers. Over the course of the fight, though, Malloy mysteriously vanishes, and Woody agrees to let Crawford stay if he can find Malloy. I think this is actually some pretty tight writing, because not only does it set the plot of the episode into motion, it also removes Malloy for the majority of the runtime. The two ensembles to search for Malloy then split up into various groups, all of which include members of both casts. Now, it's at this point, before we go any further, that I would like to admit something to you. This episode isn't the epitome of shit that I could so easily pretend it is. Don't get me wrong, it's abysmal, I hate it, and I wouldn't recommend any of you actually sit through it, but it actually does a pretty decent job at being a crossover event between Brickleberry and Paradise PD. It's got two terrible shows to work with, but in terms of crossing them over, it makes all the right decisions. It's not something like, say, The Rise of Skywalker or The Battle of Ranskorev Kolos, where even though it probably wasn't going to turn out great, it didn't have to be that bad. Holy shit, what are you doing? Paradise PD meets Brickleberry fully realizes its extremely limited potential. Watching it really does give off the impression that Black and O'Gwyn genuinely missed writing for Brickleberry and were cherishing the opportunity to revisit these characters. While the average Paradise PD episode tends to just meander around aimlessly for a while, this one wastes no time in a story that neatly fits together and has clearly been thought through. All in service of making the best possible use of this unique opportunity to have all of these characters interact with each other. They can't write jokes that are funny, but at the very least it's clear that some effort actually was put into this one. For example, the episode early on sets up the idea that there's a poacher in Brickleberry who's kidnapping animals.
There's a poacher in Brickleberry. The animals are vanishing faster than my used panties on eBay.
Whoa, that's funny because of sex! The first thing that this achieves for the story is that when Malloy goes missing, everyone immediately assumes foul play.
It must be the poacher!
Otherwise, it would just be, oh, I wonder where Malloy has gone, but with a poacher around, suddenly it's a kidnapping investigation that the Paradise cops can get involved in.
We'll get that fucking bareback.
Did someone say fucking bareback? You just got Hobson. That's the way I do.
I feel like there's a comedian directly in front of me just desperately screaming the word laugh in my face. But as it turns out at the end of the episode, Malloy wasn't actually kidnapped by the poacher. He just got stuck between Dusty's back tits. Yay! Once the poacher being a guy who exists has fulfilled this function within the story, he could just be forgotten about and never mentioned again. The poacher as a plot point doesn't just come back though, it's revealed that he's Steve, which actually resolves another of the episode's subplots. While most episodes of Paradise PD are composed of a few meandering subplots that don't connect to each other and barely resemble stories, to be honest, this episode fits together neatly. The episode's various subplots take full advantage of the fact this is a crossover event, telling stories that seem like the natural choice when you've combined these characters. But the material still sucks. Over the course of Brickleberry and Paradise PD, fourth wall breaks and attempts to seem self-aware have been getting more and more common, and this crossover is a peak example of this.
Brickleberry.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, especially TV critics.
Nice song. I miss being canceled.
Yeah, didn't we all die or something?
We got killed by alien cows, because why let The Sopranos hold the record for worst finale? Oh, this looks like the most unnecessary crossover ever.
I never wanted to hear that stupid, annoying voice of yours again.
You can expect a lot of these types of jokes.
Now go check it out and take Brickle Fits with you.
I'm the best ranger here.
Oh, congratulations! You're the best ranger in Cancelberry.
At ease, Woody and Netflix Woody.
But being funny by being self-aware requires you to be one step ahead of your audience, or to acknowledge something they're not expecting you to acknowledge.
Shut the fuck up. I'll sew your pretty mouth shut. Oh.
Ooh, that one was subtle too, imagine that. Paradise PD is a show that's already demonstrated it's happy to acknowledge it's copying Brickleberry.
They're park rangers, we're cops. Totally different.
It's just never acknowledged how deep the rehashing goes. In fact, they don't normally do it this often, but the shows have acknowledged all kinds of stuff like this before.
But one day, God's tired of Brickleberry.
Say, once people of Brickleberry entertain us, make us laugh. Now, no one watch their adventures.
Seasons end. God's not renewed.
People say, Gods, bring back Brickleberry. Start online petition.
And what clever self-aware jokes do they make in the crossover? Well, they have Dr. Kuzniak call Police Chief Crawford Netflix Woody, when earlier in the episode they've already made exceedingly similar jokes drawing attention to the same thing multiple times.
That stupid, annoying voice of yours again. Take Brickle Fits with you.
Twice as multiple times. And before that, you'd seen it in previous episodes of the show.
Anyway, Denzel.
Like, this clearly isn't a new observation at this point, so why just have a character state it again? The most self-aware thing they could have done in this episode is shut up about this, because we all already know that they know, and you don't become more self-aware every time you acknowledge the same thing. I know I remind you of H-Bomber Guy, I'm not gonna reference it every 5 minutes.
You can expect a lot of these types of jokes.
This moment comes off completely lacking in self-awareness, because surely if they were aware how repetitive these jokes are getting, they would stop making them. You know, if they could be bothered to come up with something else instead. Moving on from the crossover event, Paradise PD is set to lazily squelch back into our nightmares for its 4th and final season this December.
Paradise PD just got picked up for part 4!
This was announced in a teaser which, fittingly, was made entirely from recycled animation. I'm sure in this season we can expect to see loads of a character saying one thing and then a different thing happening, pee-pee and poo-poo, and, if history is anything to go by, jokes in which they insult other comedians' work by calling them unintelligent and unfunny.
Ticket sales started to fade once people realized my act sucked. See if you like the taste of my elbow. Damn it! This is the first time my act wasn't painful.
This guy is supposed to be Gallagher, who I know absolutely nothing about, but come on guys. Really? What are even your complaints about his work?
Fitz! Use the forced comedy.
That it's forced? My dude, your characters literally talk like this.
I'm sure nothing will call attention to me in a negative manner today.
You even lifted the Family Guy cutaway joke format, a format that literally lets you tell any joke you want without having to set up the situation, and this is what you did with it.
I am not stupid.
Oh yeah? Well, how about the time you saved us from the zombie apocalypse?
What are you doing? We're filming a TV show, you idiot!
With Paradise PD Series 4 set to be its last, that could have been the end of all this. But part 3 of this series is going to come out soon, so I'm pretty sure that's filled with something.